Good evening, everybody. It's Douglas coming to you from Cape Town, and today we're talking to Steve, and Steve has had a long day at work, and it's 7 o'clock on your side, 9 p.m. on my side.
Yeah.
Welcome, Steve.
Good evening, Doug, and good evening to the wider Be Activated community. Hope everyone's keeping well in these uncertain times of ours.
You guys are having to really do a hell of a lot to make sure you stay in. The physio practice is up and running.
Yes, yeah, we're basically we have all these extra protocols we have to follow. During the first lockdown, there was obviously a lot going on with the COVID, but luckily in our neck of the woods there was very small numbers. Unfortunately, on this time now, we've got one of the hubs of it up in Portsmouth. I'm afraid, Doug, is we're getting a lot of the South of England variant, the UK variant. So in our local general hospital, because one neighbour is a doctor, 2 doors down from her is a nurse. Things are pretty grim. It's got so bad a few weeks ago they were having to hire refrigerated cargo containers to store the bodies in because the mortuary just couldn't cope. So it's when you start hearing stories like that, it makes it very, very real, and that's why the practice where I work with Sue, we are belt and braces, trying to do as much as we can to keep people safe. In fact, we go beyond the normal guidelines. We've got air purifiers. We have a special fogging machine we use at the end of the day that goes around and sprays like a fine mist that will just disinfect everything.
Let's put that at the end of the day, you're pretty much fumigating the practice.
Yes. Yeah, we have to put a mask, a white suit, a visor on, gloves, and we fumigate the building. Yes. And the reason is because where we work in Romsey, we have a lot of elderly patients. Our part of the South Coast is very much a retirement area. And so a certain percentage of our clients or patients and clients that come in the practice, they are either vulnerable or they care for someone who's vulnerable. And also, as you know, with Sue as well, her husband has had some health issues in the past, and she takes it all very seriously, as we all do. So we just think we do as much as we can.
Because you guys go home to your friends and your family as well. So you can't be flippant about it.
No, not at all. Because we are, I treat myself but up to 70 patients a week in close contacts. And most of them, I'm about that far away from their face for the bulk of the treatments. Yeah. Because even doing the activations, we get in close, as you know yourself. You've got to, it's a hands-on profession we do and hands-on treatments. So I'm at very high risk of being a asymptomatic spreader, as are Sue or anyone else that comes in the practice. So we're basically taking the opinion that, we assume we've got it unless we know otherwise. It's just the safest way to look after people, Doug, because, there's a lot of scared people out there.
No, well, that part I definitely know. But I think that what's impressive about what you're describing is going over and beyond what's expected of you. What it's doing is it's letting your patients know upfront you're taking this seriously, and that you're addressing a whole lot of their fears before they even get there. Because anything they could possibly think about, you guys are already doing more than that. So that's an amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, it's, as you've no doubt found out yourself, it's the thing that's going on in England, because it's just dragging on so long. When it first happened last year, we had the first lockdown, it was 12 weeks. We were all kind of sold by the government this idea that put up with it for 12 weeks, things will get better, we'll get over this and life goes back to normal. But we've had this drip, 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 lockdown, unlock, lockdown, unlock. And then you've had another variant appear. And so a lot of people are just very fatigued with the whole thing. Every conversation I've had with every patient over the last 8-9 months has involved talking about COVID-19.
Yeah.
Luckily myself, Sue and I, and all the girls at the clinic we work with, we're all in a good place. We just kind of take it in our stride. But I also see how much it's affected a lot of people, and even patients, regular patients who I thought were, shall we say, quite mentally stoical, have all admitted to having a little bit of a wobble. I think it's just
Yeah.
grinding people down at the moment, you know.
But I think it's relentless, isn't it? And I
Oh, it
think,
is.
like at the start, as you say, you know, you told, okay, we're going to do this. It's 3 months. It's 12 weeks. You can do that. In your mind, you go 12 weeks. Cool. I can
Yeah.
picture that. I can do that. And then
Yeah.
and then it seems like everything is coming back to normal. And then you start to see all the warning signs. And I think the challenge with this is you don't know. You know, they can say, okay, this is going on until next week, but you know that someone's coming the day before next week ends to give you an update. And if you're following the numbers, you've got a pretty good clue. And I think, you know,
Yeah.
this is what's been happening to us. We were fortunate enough that we'd gone back into not quite as serious a lockdown as you guys, but
Right.
with all these things being closed. And on Monday, our president came out and said, actually, we've done really well. The numbers are
Oh,
down.
good. Yeah.
And so the beaches are open, alcohol sales are happening again, and the curfew times have changed, which means
Yeah.
restaurants can actually function now, because they were
Oh,
having to
good.
close at 8
Good.
p.m.
Oh,
And
gosh,
not be
ridiculous.
serving. You couldn't serve a glass of wine or a beer with a meal, and
Yeah.
and with all the fear and the anxiety. So huge amount of the, you know, tourist industry suffered, because this is our summer. You know, this is our
Of
summer. This is our
course. Yeah.
holiday
Yeah.
season,
Yeah.
and so many people are talking about, you know, it's so tough because beaches get closed, but tourists come to the beach. So if they
Yeah.
can't go to the beach, I don't want to go to wherever it is and pay to sit in my hotel or my Airbnb and twiddle my thumbs. And hell, I can't even have a
Absolutely.
glass of wine while I'm twiddling my thumbs.
Yeah, it's got to be tough because, like I said, a lot of people, that's their livelihoods. You know, they
Yeah.
rely on the tourists and tourists coming, spending money, and doing all the things that we all do when we go on holiday. You know,
Yeah.
and it's
And
similar.
but it's that relentless.
Yeah,
You know, you don't know when they're going to come and say, hey, it's all open, or
yeah,
sorry guys, we've got to go longer. And you know,
yeah.
as you guys are finding, it's longer.
It's and that's the trouble though, because you know we always have this thing with the government. They love to be, you know, Boris Johnson. I'm not going to sit here and slag the government off because they've done good things. They've done things I disagree with. But one thing is they've given a lot of people too much false hope. You know, you'll have the government saying, well, in so many weeks, we're going to look at this and do this. And then the next minute, you'll have one of their scientific advisors saying, well, the reality is things aren't going to change for at least 8 weeks. And so they've constantly kind of dangled this little carrot in front of people. And on 2 or 3 occasions, they've whipped it away at the last minute. And I think mentally that's been worse than just saying to people, look, it's going to be tough for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, rather than, you know, these constant, we'll review it. And it's just, I think it's just made it harder. I wish they would have been a little bit less, not so optimistic, but a bit more realistic about what's going on, because the science is saying one thing and the politicians are saying another, and us in the middle know that the truth lies somewhere between the two, you know.
And I isn't the challenge is how do, you know, because how does that impact what you see and what I see when with our
Yeah,
clients? Well, it's
yeah,
actually very simple. Part of our human need is the need for certainty. So
yeah,
when you have that thing dangled and pulled away and dangled and pulled away, what you're doing is you're creating an environment within me of uncertainty and a lack
yes,
of
yeah,
trust. Now
yeah.
the next time you say something, I'm not going to believe you, because the last time you pulled it out and the last, it's like what's it, Lucy and Charlie, man, there's a little cartoon, and Lucy's always Charlie Brown, and
Charlie Brown, oh yeah, 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 Lucy, yeah,
and Lucy's always holding the rugby ball and saying, "Come on, Charlie Brown, kick the
yeah,
rugby
and
ball." And he goes,
he
"No,
goes to kick it.
you're gonna pull it out." And she goes, "No, not this time." And each time she pulls it out,
Yes,
and so it's that doubt, that hesitation, but it's the lack of trust, and it's the uncertainty created that
yeah,
then plays out in people's physiology while they're sitting in their home. So it's very easy to get caught up in the, what are they doing? It's all you know, shake, you know, all this, there's stuff going on. What are they doing? Well, it's because if you create clarity, even if people don't like the clarity, even if they don't like what you're asking them to do or telling them to do, but you go, this is what we're doing, this is why, it's a non-negotiable, it's clear. That's like us and what we're doing with our client, with their physiology. We're making sure the instruction from the brain to the body is clear. And then the body goes, cool, I can function with that.
Yeah. Oh, no,
So
absolutely.
I think you're spot on like the way it's managed is almost more important than what it is you're actually doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it's like I say, people, you know, we are creatures of habit, and everybody's habits have been dramatically changed. You know, you've got working conditions have changed. Some, you know, a lot of people working from home. A lot of people, they can't see their families. A lot of people's, you know, they're almost like the safety nets. You know, the things that they hold dear in life, it's all been changed. And you know, myself personally, I'm lucky. All I've done in you know, I just spend my time thinking about not what I can't do, but what I've got left, and gratitude for that. But a lot of people are struggling with the loss, you know, and it's almost in some places like a grieving process, you know.
No, but there's that whole and grieving. You know what Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talks about. It's a process of death. So any loss is a process of death. So it's it's dabda. So first you have denial, which we see, where we've seen it, and by the way, people can go backwards and forwards in this. They don't just go through the sequence. So you go denial, anger, then you know, what the friggin' hell are they doing that? Da 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 da. B is bargaining. No, but you know, why can't we have this? Da, 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 da. Then the next D is depression, which we definitely see people get stuck in. Just that, well, there's nothing I can do. It's just the way, you know, whatever they tell me to do, I'll just do it. I must have that. Yeah, I must do this. Sure. I must wear that. Yeah, I can't move until, okay. And then the acceptance is when you're more able to step and see the whole process, and then there's always the possibility, if that's death, that's a grieving and death. But in this process, it's like after the acceptance, you almost need to go, okay, now I accept the situation, I can see what's going on. What am I going to do about it? And what you said about, I'm focusing on what I can do, and I'm choosing that. And that's a very powerful thing, because it ignites your energy and it keeps you motivated.
Oh, absolutely.
And motivation requires energy. But if you're focusing on what you've lost and what you can't do, which is so damn easy to do,
oh, absolutely,
it depletes you in an instant, and then everything's hard. And then depression's the easiest thing to slip into.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. One thing I was made very aware of during the first lockdown. I didn't work for 12 weeks, and I suddenly went from, you know, it was, I remember it well, because 23rd of March, I had the day off. It was my birthday, and I'm having a lovely day with my girlfriend. And in the afternoon, Boris makes his announcement. Half an hour later, I get a phone call from Sue saying, don't come in tomorrow. And I didn't work for 12 weeks. And within that 12 weeks, the first few weeks,
did you say happy birthday? Don't come in
tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Happy birthday. Don't come back tomorrow.
12 weeks, bugger off.
Well, but Doug, that was the worst of it. We didn't know how long it was going to be. And that for me was I found the hardest thing, because, you know, the first few weeks, great. It was like having a holiday. It's like, oh, great, lovely break, sun's shining, you know, go out with Susie and the dogs and, you know, wander around the forest. You know, it's all, life is good. But then it dawned on me, it's like, okay, well, I'm a self-employed man. If I don't work, I don't get any money. So luckily, I've always got a contingency fund in the bank.
Yeah.
But when it came to budgeting that, I was like, okay, how long am I going to be off for? And we were drip fed every fortnight for 10 weeks. When the next time, we'll review it in 2 weeks. So you got another 2 weeks off, another 2 weeks off. And in that time, the rumor mill through our professional body is, it will be October. It will be the following year with a vaccine. And all of a sudden I'm like, right, I've got this my little pot of gold here that I need to figure out how to space it out. And without knowing that, I was like, well, am I going to have enough? Am I not? And it made that last part of the lockdown really hard for me, just the total uncertainty, not knowing where we were. And then, you know, and then when it finally
Sorry,
did,
I want to be bad here and interrupt, but I don't want you to lose your train of thought, because what's really important about what you've just said, the perfect analogy and parallel to that, is the central governor fatigue theory is entirely about that. If your brain knows what the end point is, it will give you enough energy to get to that point. When the end point is uncertain, it goes, oh crap, we better keep holding on and holding on. And every time you get the mistrust of, oh, we thought almost gave you the ending, not really. Your brain actually says, I've got to hold on to that little pot of gold of my energy, because otherwise you may die because you have nothing left. And so you're exactly what you're describing, and it's quite amazing. That's happening physiologically with the brain, governing how much it allows you to have, because it also wants the freedom and the movement and the connecting. So sorry, you got to your 12 weeks. That pot of gold was, and obviously that uncertainty was pretty horrendous.
It was, Doug. I remember, because obviously I kept in contact with Sue regularly. But I went from seeing Sue, Emily, and all the people at the practice who we well, and we always have a great time. We have lots of fun at work. Yeah, all the patients we treat, and we enjoy our job. We get a good buzz out of it. Suddenly that's all taken away. And as much as I love my girlfriend to bits and we get on brilliantly, I found that I was almost losing my identity towards the end, because what made me with my job was suddenly gone. And I felt like I was almost drifting a little bit. It was weird. It's a really weird place to be.
Yeah.
So
and I think you're so spot on. You see, the thing is with what you're sharing there is that's a big thing, because that's what's happening with so many people. They don't know who they are anymore, because the things that they use to define themselves are gone.
Oh, completely. Yeah. There are some poor souls in this country who have not worked since March of last year, and they are on furlough yet again. And I'm just thinking, how, there was an interesting thing on the radio. They were saying that, during the first lockdown, a lot of people like, right, I'm going to get fit. And, I've seen more people running and jogging. Now there's a whole lot of people saying, sod it, I'm just going to sit at home, drink alcohol, watch Netflix. What's the point? And it's a real negativity that's kind of shifting in the general public at the moment. And I feel desperately sorry for people who can't get back to work, because I know myself, when I got back to work and we had to wear all this PPE, it's the middle of the summer, sweating, I was over the moon, Doug. I was like, yeah, I don't care. So what? I'm soaking wet. Great, my first patient back is an absolute nightmare, but God, I could have hugged them. It's
if you were allowed to.
Lovely, to get back. But it's all like you say. It's and within a week of being back, I was like, great, I'm me again. I'm doing what we do in life. It was brilliant, and I feel so sorry for people who've lost all of that. It must be heart-wrenching, because also there's a lot of people who, as well as losing their jobs and their identity, there's a lot of financial issues going on in this country. Certain sections of the workforce have been treated badly. So as much as the government likes to go on about what they've given to the rest, the people they've given a lot, but there's a big chunk they've given nothing to, and they refuse to do anything about it. And it's pretty bad.
Yeah, look, I sit from a position in South Africa where what the government is able to do for the people in need, it's so tiny, but we see people standing in queues, like 50 people in line at the post office to get 350 Rand, and to convert that into pounds, divided by 20.
What?
And that's a monthly income. And then you go, but you see, and that, so our lockdown now wasn't one that restricted you from working, but when the lockdown was restricting working, that is a big deal, because yes, you might you'll if you have 5 family members, you'll probably get at least that times 4. But that was why the first paid program that I did was a fundraiser for food, because that was a genuine thing. And and it's scary. And I think that when you talk about focusing on the things you can do and being grateful. Is we're deeply grateful for what we have, and kind of, as you say, the pot of gold that can take care of you. But what it also allows one to do is to look up and see who doesn't have that and how can you help. And sometimes it's financial, and sometimes it's time and consideration, and there's the need is huge, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, Doug. No, you hit the nail on the head. You know, and it's that, but that's the thing why, you know, I still love what we do with the activations and everything, because I know that we can do a lot to help people in this, in the present scenarios, you know, and it's wonderful when you get somebody that's had a problem, they're struggling, and yet they are like a self-employed person, they're desperate, they've got to go back to work and try and earn money, yet they can't because they're injured. You help them, or you help, you know, the stuff we're doing with the Parkinson's guys and everything, and we are still making a difference. So what we're trying to do is give our little bit of positivity back in this world where everything's a little bit negative at the moment, and we just keep soldiering on with that, you know.
But you know, that's such a huge thing, because now more than ever it actually makes a huge difference. That little bit of positivity is actually ginormous, because it flies in the face of where people are at. So it really comes as an unexpected surprise, and you know, I was given this piece of information and told, Doug, keep throwing stones. And I was like, what? You have to keep throwing stones. And throwing stones is about creating ripples. As you throw the stone in the water, it creates ripples. It's the ripples. So it's kind of, as we have this conversation, maybe that ripple, someone listening goes, Steve, that was me, and I didn't realize, and I've got a piece of information, or I've got a little spark, or I've gotten, you know, and so each thing in the conversation is something that may help someone. And and sometimes it's a piece, you know, you go, oh wow, I get that. Or it was like, crap, that's good to know that I'm not the only one that's feeling like this or doing this. And
absolutely,
you know, it's like, and it's why for so long I kept saying to people, stop telling me that you're okay, because it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay with what's happening. Because if you can own that you're not there, now you can do something with it. But if you keep bullshitting and going, no, I'm fine. Yeah. Okay, sure. You know, this is unusual. It is weird. There's nothing in any textbook that has prepared anyone for these moments. And so we're kind of seeking answers on the go. But the thing is that the answers, the coolest part for me is the answers, we know this, it already lies in us. And that's what you and I are doing when we're seeing people, is we're saying, look, stop waiting for the answer out there. The answers you're looking for are here. And when those answers come, you're going to be ready. But if everything you need to do is about what somebody tells you, what someone else's answer, all the power lies with them. So you sit disempowered and helpless, waiting. And we don't want that. You know, there's so many amazing people sitting at home overwhelmed, that if they could just tap into themselves a little bit more, they'd be part of the solution.
Oh, absolutely, Doug. You know, it was like you were saying when we did the Parkinson's study and everything with those guys. You know, it was the whole thing about the point of focus, and that's one thing I've really kept on. And like Sue and I, and you know, we talk about it, and you know, that's kind of helped me to sort of stay in a good place where I am at the moment, because I choose not to bother to focus on the negative. There's no point.
So Steve, let's put that in context, because it was really powerful, wasn't it, when we did it on the Parkinson's program?
Yes.
So for those listening, what we did is on our Parkinson's study, it was a 4-day study. We had 10 people who were there. And one of the things that was a big fear that they have is falling. And it's the falling, yes, you get injured, but often it's the how do I get up? And so we had done a whole lot of work and activations, and they were moving great and feeling wonderful. And then I think it was about day 3, I kind of led the session, and I'm like, okay, now I'm not going to be so nice with you guys today, because how are you feeling? Oh, great, wonderful. So we get them walking around baseline. And then I go, you know what? I heard a rumor last night. I was chatting to some people, and they said, you guys are afraid of falling. And I want you to think about falling and there's no one there to help you. And I want you to think about, and I want you to walk. And it was amazing. It was amazing how suddenly, from this ease and confidence and beautiful movement from people who like dazzling movement compared to where they started, were back to almost worse than when they began. Fear and hesitant steps and unstable, and all that was exactly the point of focus. So we were focusing on the fear, what you don't want. But you know what? The more you focus on what you don't want, that's what you're focused on.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
And it was amazing. And all we did was what? Okay, now think about what inspires you. And I think in that session, I'd said to them, just look around. Look at these other people around you. Don't you inspire each other? Because they did. They inspired us. And then suddenly they were moving with this like invincible. And I think what's so awesome is like you guys have kept coordinating with them in Zoom calls, I think once a week, and that group is better than ever. They like the victory of the lockdown. That
you'd be amazed if you could see them now, Doug, because obviously a certain percentage of them come to the clinic for treatment because they live with, we've got obviously the ones that can do. You would be amazed at the progress they've made. It's absolutely, it's mind-blowing again, because we're told as physios that this is a condition they have, that their brains don't produce dopamine. The only way to sort them out is to give them more artificial dopamine. And yet we've got one chap who's no longer taking any medication. He's better than he's ever been. And yet he tells his Parkinson nurse about this, and she has a right go at him for coming off his meds.
Yeah.
And he's like, hang on a minute, I'm better than I've ever been, and you're telling me that I'm wrong for stop taking my drugs. He said, how dare you? You don't tell me how to run my body. And the only downside of that is we were so desperate to get them all back together again, but because of this pandemic, it's really kind of stalled what we want to do. We're still trying to figure out other ways of, the Zoom platforms and stuff to do it, because we're just desperate to kind of push these guys on forward and see where we can go with all of this. But we're just hampered while we're not allowed to have groups of people in the room together.
But the thing is, as you said, they're doing amazingly. So like the best laid plans. So what? You've got to look at what's happening. And the thing is that that's inspiring. And I think one of the ladies, you'll know who we're talking about, but her husband, who was on the program, he'd emailed Sue and me and shared a like an insight into Parkinson's. And I'd never realized, and basically it was every day you wake up and you've lost something. It's a progressive disease that every day you wake up, you're a little bit worse. Not a little bit same, not a little bit better. It's always a little bit worse. Yeah. And I hadn't until that was shared fully grasped what we were dealing with. And therefore, when you get that diagnosis, what you're dealing with. Because when you go Google that, there ain't nothing good.
No.
In that world.
It's somebody's pressed the button and that one-way trip is beginning. And the only thing is how quick you get to the end. But luckily, with what we're, with your work and what Sue, the powerhouse behind this on our side of things, is that we're actually changing that, and that's why we just want to kind of grow it and, make it into a method that we could ultimately teach other people. Because as you know yourself, Doug, Parkinson's in the 50-year-olds is the world's #1 growing neurological condition.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the fastest growing condition in the 50-year-old age group. And there's going to be a hell of a lot of it around. And the trouble is, there's not a lot out there. You talk about the experiences, well, you've heard the stories, about one chap, he found out he got sent an email. He's a guy in his 50s. He's gone for tests and everything, and he gets an email saying, "Hi, you've got Parkinson's, blah, blah, blah. You're seeing a neurologist in 3 months." And you'll know who he
3
is.
months to go and find out how bad it's about to get. No,
You got
and we know that's such a huge component. I want to change tack because this
Certainly, Doug.
up for me. So, and I know, and why this is relevant is this young man was in the practice today, apparently.
Ah, yes.
So because of you, because it was you invited me when I was trying to get back to London for a beer, but you made specifically clear it was a Guinness. So therefore you hit my soft spot.
Absolutely, Doug.
And Sue drove me into the middle of nowhere, and suddenly in the middle of nowhere, I realized to meet with you. I realized that I knew the place, and not only had did I recognize Ringwood, and that because that was where my best mate Stuart lived, and I hadn't seen him for ages, and then also I realized that I'd been in the pub with my brother. And when he was living in Bournemouth, and I was like, whoa, I didn't even know where I was. So that invitation for a beer triggered a whole beautiful sequence of events, and amazing for me, and amazing for Stuart, and amazing for you guys, I believe too, because there's a little
in this place. I've been here before, and like soon I'm like, what the hell's Doug on about? And you're wondering around looking and saying, no, I've been here before. I'm like, how the hell can you been here before? And then you said, oh, my friend, my best man lives around the corner.
No. I didn't know. I said,
oh, right. Sorry. Yeah.
No, this was what was so weird is Stuart had moved about 6 months before.
Yes.
And they were out in the New Forest before that. And then they'd moved. And so I started messing with him, and I sent him photos, and he's like, how are you getting those photos? And it turned out it was all of like 100 meters from his house.
Yes.
And he hadn't even been to his own local pub just because of financial stuff. And so what was so amazing was at the lunch that I had with Sue is one of the things that was a part of the conversation is how do we give thanks for what you give? You give so much. And I was like, But it was so awesome because there's a young man that belongs to Stuart, who's my best mate, and he needed help, and that's what you guys have been doing, and he too has defied pretty any rule of any, and he's got a motor neurone disease, and it's progressive, and all I can say is because of you guys, apparently not.
Well, the thing is that I'd have to take my hat off. That's down to Sue. Sue has been the driving force behind helping them and everything. So she is the lady you want to really thank for Doug, because she's the one that's really, I might have got you as far as Ringwood, but Sue has been the person that's been pushing the journey on for Stuart and his family. But she's brilliant with people like that. She always will have a go. Sue's one of these ladies that there is no, they're too bad, I can't do anything for them. She will, she's always willing to say, right, no, we're gonna see what happens. And she's done some amazing things for amazing people. Yeah, she's an amazing lady. You know that yourself, And
I actually did a Zoom interview with Stuart and Timmy, and it's for another project that's
right.
And it was quite remarkable just listening to this young man and the progress and I think there was a series of tests where there were like 20 markers, and previously he was on the slowly downward progression, and the last time they tested him, which was sometime last year, 19 out of 20 of these things. He was insane. And actually, if this was a normal kid wouldn't even score 19 out of 20.
That's amazing.
No. He is it's for me it's this is the people often say to me, but what do you get out of what you do? And well, these kind of things, the synchronicities and the lining up was insane. But and the inviting Stuart to bring his son into a space, not saying we have an answer, because we don't know. And having Sue going, okay, you've asked me, I will do it. They going, awesome, we'll give it a go. And then realizing, and it's like, it's we don't know. And I think that this is the part that people really need to wake up to. It's okay not to know what the outcome is going to be, but if you don't do the work and if you don't give it a go, you will never ever know. And sometimes, and the sometimes is far more often than random. Often you will be so friggin' amazed by what is possible, and you'll be going, no, but it's not possible. Yes, if we follow the rules that we already know, you're correct. It's not possible. But if you say, well, cool, why do we have to accept that all those rules are right? We know and so many of the things we've been taught as a basis for physiology and neurology and all of these things and human function, it all set up with the best intent possible. It's not like we're set up to, let's mislead them. It was never that. It was, we're studying something, we went off in the wrong direction, then we got really good in the wrong direction. So therefore can never become right. And then you go and you say, hey, why don't we try this? No, we don't do that. Why not? Well, because we always do this. And then you go, well, look here, look what it just did. And I think that's what's so much fun about this.
Oh, absolutely, Doug. It's like I say, because with us being physios, we're all taught a certain, rigid training regime of how we do things. And like I say, some of the things we've seen and done aren't supposed to be possible, and that's what's great when it's like, well, hang on a minute, how does this, and like Sue and I, when we chat about things, with patients, and it's amazing to like, how the hell did that happen, and the thing I love about activations is that on the initial level, when you first learn it, it seems like a very straightforward system. But actually, it's the layers of the onion, isn't it? And as the years go on, I go a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower, and forever learning something new about it. And, my view of it now, compared to 6-7 years when I first started, it's like, wow, yeah, even when I look at a person now, I look at them differently to how I used to. And it's almost hard sometimes to remember, how did I used to view things before I got into activation, but it's brilliant because, like I say, it's a journey, and it's a journey that never ends, it's good.
But and also think about this. So you do something with a client that technically the result is impossible.
Yeah.
You're going, whoa, that's crazy. But then your brain goes, I wonder what else is possible. If this was impossible, well, what else have I put into the impossible category? And then you start questioning and re-looking at things that we've just gone, oh, it's a this. There's nothing we can do. And the thing is, there may be nothing we can do, but if you don't try something different and you come with a different approach, you don't know. And if it doesn't work, it's just another thing that didn't work. So what?
Oh, absolutely, Doug. And, we are trying things with patients that in the past, we'd be like, oh, ever so sorry, you're not musculoskeletal, so we shouldn't be treating you because we are musculoskeletal. And now it's like, okay, you've got a neurological condition, you've got this, but let's just see what your body's doing. Let's just test you, see where you're at.
You're a muscle and skeleton, therefore you're musculoskeletal.
Well, exactly. You have a nervous system. That's how muscles work. So, but that's been for me one of the best things is like I say, with the guys like the Parkinson's or people who I normally would have said, no, look, I can't do a thing for this person. They're wasting their time seeing me. It's like, yeah, do you know what? Let's see what happens. And, there's been so many people we've helped over the years that have been like, I've been everywhere, nobody can do this, and I've done that, and everyone's, and out of sheer desperation, they've heard that we do some weird thing in Romsey, and they've come to see us. And we actually get these people better, and it's brilliant for them. It's brilliant for us. And it's kind of taken me to places in my practice that 6 or 7 years ago I wouldn't have thought possible. Like the whole thing with Parkinson's, when we started doing this, Sue was like, we're going to do this. I was incredibly skeptical, but I was like, I can't say it to Sue. She was so enthusiastic. But to the other girls in the practice, I was like, oh God, I'm not sure if we're shooting ourselves in the foot here. Is this going to work or not?
Yeah. Where's the back door?
It's like, wow.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's like it is just like layers of the onion, but it is also it's as your system's ready, you step into more there. If therefore you can see more and experience more. And on that Parkinson's program, you and I, we were working on Neil.
Yes.
When we did the holding point.
Yes, absolutely.
And I watched you, and you reflected back to me afterwards. I watched you change as he changed, because you got something at another layer, and then that's another layer, because you saw and experienced and something shifted. You were so impressed that you frozen.
Absolutely. And
there you go. Now you're back.
I'm still moving, Doug. Can you see me?
Yeah. No, you'd frozen. You were so impressed.
The trouble is, at the moment, I think the internet connection around here, I think with a bit of a thin bandwidth at the moment. But
as you talked about, everybody in England is online.
Yeah, they're all working from home and downloading things they probably shouldn't do as well. So who knows? But yes, Neil. Now Neil is somebody that you really are going to have to send your video, because what this guy's achieved, it's incredible. And as you remember yourself, Neil, he had some quite severe symptoms, but we've had some amazing sessions with him, and it's been and he's the man is an absolute star. So like I say, we'll have to get Sue to send you some of the videos we've taken.
I did get sent some, and
brilliant.
A little competition.
Yeah.
And I saw a single leg stand against Clem.
Yes.
And amazing when that competitive nature kicked in. Not Clem's didn't have to kick in; it's always there. But for him, when he kind of realized, hang on, I'm not finding my balance. The dyskinesia is winning, and then suddenly he looks over at her and goes, nope, and just kind of like Karate Kid. It's like
absolutely, yeah. He was in the moment,
It was, and I think that's the part that's the most exciting in all of this is when we have those moments of like, that shouldn't be possible. That's so exciting, because it's like that's when we really, I think the thing that people have forgotten is this structure that we live in is insane. It's magical. It can do incredible things. And most of the answers that we're looking for are already here. The problem right now in the world is the world is focused out there waiting for someone to give an answer. So we've forgotten that, let's say 90% of the work already can be happening here. Maybe the 10% of the answers out there, awesome. When you've got it, bring it. But I don't need it. I've got 90% of the work to do already. And people are sitting, as you say, drinking and watching Netflix. And the word that is the South African word is gatful, where you just, I'm just so sick. I'm over it. I'm sick of it. Gatful. It's a great word. So usually when someone's fed up and gatful, that's when they also give up. That's also when they resign themselves. And I think this is a time when we can't, and I think that's like you'll find that the clients that come to see you guys, they have to work for it, because I know you guys are seriously busy, but also they have to do all the protocols with you, the safety protocols. So they have to show how dedicated they are to be there.
Yes, yeah. And that's the thing, the whole thing with the way we treat patients, that they have to engage with us. It's not a case of I'll turn up, lie there, you fix me, and I'll walk out the door half an hour later. It's a process that they've got to engage with. And that's what we say straight from the beginning. If you're going to do this, we're going to get you to do certain things, and we expect you to do them. If you don't want to do them, then let's stop wasting each other's time, because it's a process. They've got to be present and, you know, willing and go with it. Yeah, yeah. And then, like you say, amazing things are possible, Doug.
But you see that now, even there, what you guys are doing is so important, because and maybe 6-7 years ago when you started, you wouldn't have realized how important it is. They must be present. They must be willing to do the work. And too many people go, oh well, if they don't want to do the work, I'll just do it for them. Nope. Because
never going to happen.
that's like getting on the stationary bike and reading a newspaper and expecting some massive physiological change to happen. Nope. If you're not present, if you're not in that moment of what you're doing, the physiological change doesn't come. And that's definitely in this work.
Well, it's like Sue was telling me today at lunchtime, she had a patient this morning, and she was doing the psoas testing, and, you know, weak, activates the psoas, rock solid. And she says to the patient, how does that feel? And she's like, okay. It's like, right, do you not feel that? And she's like, well, what should I feel? And it's like, you know, okay, we'll just try this again. And in the end, the patient's like, what do you want me to feel? And it's like, okay, you know, do you know what I mean? And the trouble is, sometimes you work with something like that, you're like, look, all we're asking you is just tell us what you're feeling inside, engage with the process. Does it feel any stronger to you? Well, I suppose so, if you say so. And you know, I think poor Sue was tearing her hair out at this point.
Oh.
But you know, to be honest with you, the patients of that are few and far between. The vast majority go, oh my God, what have you done? You know, and so you know, so like I say, you'll get the occasional one where you have to kind of spoon feed it to them, Doug. But
you know what, Steve, this morning I saw a pro surfer, and she's very, very cool, and we'd had a chat, and her dad had given just the right piece of information just before we started, and it was amazing to do the psoas of someone who surfs really good. It was a 0.5 out of 10. It was a non-existent. So for people to understand, you know, that someone might be going, oh, you must be talking about like an old granny who was doing this. Hell, I'm finding that when I look at people around, they are more disconnected, more shut down. And here's someone who's an athlete who has a pattern, but what's so interesting about it, when she's in big competitions and she's seeing like her heroes in the same big competition, she goes into overwhelm and her system just shuts down. And guess what? I went and I set up the psoas test, went up, and she did exactly what how do you want me to resist? Do you want me to, what do you want me to do? You really don't know how to just hold your leg up. But you've got to tell me what to do. The instructions aren't clear. And what I'm watching is her eyes glazing and looking and going, crap, I have no idea. So it was amazing because of how much that disconnect was there. And so you go, hang on, but this is a really good athlete. And so what about someone who's not that, who's so caught up in their head and their, they feeling, what do you mean feeling? You know, is what I feel important. I don't. No one's ever thought it was important before, and we know that it's the most important thing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, not a shadow of a doubt, you know. But like you said earlier, Doug, it goes along with what's happening in the wider world, and you know, the last sort of 4 or 5 months, I've never had so many patients that are a true zero. You know, that I've been rich. You know, I think the previous 5 years, I could have counted them on one hand, and it just seems to be one after another, and even the ones that are like, oh, I exercise regularly, I go to the gym, and there's just nothing. You just, and like, okay, there's a lot of it around at the moment.
Yeah, and the thing is that's what all the uncertainty does, and that's what all the disconnecting people from things that are important to them, and so this is the governor system going, do you know what? We don't know how long this is going to last, so I am going to give you just the incy wincy tiniest little bit to function, because you're meant to be inside anyway. That's what they told us, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we're going to put you in hibernation mode, but the problem is that hibernation mode is not going to help you. So
No.
and the thing is that it's going to allow all the information that's coming through to overwhelm you even more. It's going to, and you know, I've had messages asking about, you know, 30-year-old father who had like a massive heart attack, and what do? Get them breathing. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they're having the heart attack because they don't know how they're going to look after and support their family when they're not allowed to work. And someone goes, but well, what about, why the diaphragm? Well, the fascia of the diaphragm wraps around the fascia of the heart. So the pressure on the heart is because they're not breathing and they're not moving properly, and there's so much pressure being put through the fascia around the heart. So so there's someone who's healthy, but the stress and the overwhelm and is creating that. And then there's the problem of, that's the same person who won't go to the hospital because it's not a safe place anymore.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the trouble. You get into that whole cycle of, you know, and it's a downhill cycle, isn't it? Because the worse you feel, the more you get stressed, the more you squeeze, the worse you feel, and they're not reaching out for any help because, like I say, at the moment, around where we are, the hospital is the last place in the world you want to be. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think just to be a little bit evil, because we can be evil. I think being in a hospital in the UK in the last 10 years has been a place you don't really want to be, because there were so many people that went in for the most random thing that ended up getting hospital-acquired diseases and dying. Yeah. You know, the super bugs that lurked. So already there was...
The MRSA was, in some hospitals was horrendous. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so you didn't even want to go there then. And now there's just... it's a scary place. And so then you go, well, where do I go? What do I do? You know what? I'll just sit here and hope it all goes away. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Well, it's like the other week, as I explained, our local hospital was so overwhelmed that there was literally not an ITU bed to be had in the area. Yeah. And soon I was saying, we were having a chat, and Sue was like, well, I'm not going to go ride my horse, because if I have an accident, where am I going to go? And I was thinking about the same when riding my motorbike. It's like, well, actually, there isn't actually a bed within a 30-mile geographical area for an ITU patient. They went from having 30 ITU beds, they expanded it to 150, and every single one of them was full. And so if you'd have had an accident where we live, the closest you could have got any emergency treatment is approximately 55 to 60 miles away. And in the UK, with our roads, that's if you're an ambulance having to go that far, it's difference between life and death, Doug. You know, that golden window of opportunity. You could be stuck on the motorway for a few hours trying to get to a hospital. And it's...
How about you go out on your motorbike and just not crash? Because all I heard you both Sue and the horse and you and the motorbike was focusing on what could go wrong. But being out on your motorbike would give you what? Getting on your horse would give you what? And so suddenly we've got a trade-off that's being driven by fear, looking at a situation. You know, whenever did you think, I don't know if today is a good day to ride a bike. You know, the roads are so, the M25 is so busy, I probably wouldn't get to the hospital in time. You go, I'm going to find an open...
Absolutely, road. Doug. It's never crossed my mind before, but you know, when you start thinking about things, you sort of think, oh, they're right. There's no bed, and what happens if today's the day where my number is up? And then
you're right. If your number is up, your number is up. Mm-hmm. Don't fight it.
I'm going to end up in that shipping container, feeling quite chilly.
Yeah. and I know I'm being facetious, but you won't be alone.
No, this is true. This is true. Yeah. But no, you're right. It's, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you just have to get on with life, and you know, things will improve. And you know, like I say, we all just have to think, okay, well, I can't change my fate in the future. I've just got to enjoy my life now, and so you know,
and that's it. And so the idea is when you Oh, and why this thing is, like you've actually struck a nerve with me about the motorbike and the horse riding,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
what it is it's about making your world smaller. Oh, I won't do this because the hospital's full. Or I won't do that because of this. I mustn't do this. I won't do that. And bit by bit, that becomes the habit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
suddenly there's this itty bitty little space which we call our lives. And then you get hundreds and thousands and millions of people living like this. And you have like, it's like little helpless pods. And we're not helpless. You know, I got judged, by the way, for going on a road trip, not by South Africans, because they understand it, for going 1,800 Ks looking for surf in a legal place.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you should have stayed at home. I got quite a brutal email about how irresponsible and I heard, and I hear the person. I hear South Africa, where I am, is different to where you are, and is different to in America. Everyone's different, but this was what I was legally allowed to go and do. It took a hell of a lot of effort.
Yes.
It's a big mission. And I've shared the mission for anyone who's silly enough to want to watch my four-part series. It's me rambling while I'm driving. Yes, I'm alone in the middle of nowhere, and if I had an accident, nobody's coming past for 2 days, let alone getting, you know, it's like, that's how it works. It's a risk reward game. And if you keep going, oh, look at this and watch out for that, the risk grows. Nothing's actually changed, but your perceived risk has grown. And therefore you make your world smaller. You know, I didn't find surf where I went looking, but boy, those 2 days of traveling and dirt roads and chaos was amazing.
Yeah.
And I came back feeling very free because I had taken control of something that I could control, and I went and I did it. Instead of going, I'm going to sit and wait, and I'm going to sit and wait. And that was now 2 weeks ago. And the thing is that we only expected our beaches to be opened on about the 15th of February, but they got opened on the 1st. So they are now open. And that's really important. Because you know, it's amazing how, if you know, everyone just wants to be at the beach, obviously, you know, but it's also the healthiest place to be. But it's like, you've got to look at the things you can control.
Yes. Yeah.
As
you're absolutely right, Doug.
It's so important. And it's how easily we knock things off that list because, oh, but be careful. Oh, and what about this? And I think no great achievements have ever come through playing careful and playing small. You know, the great changes and the great ideas. And when you say to a client, you take the risk, and this is how you've got to where you are today, is you've taken the risk and you've gone, we're not going to do that today. We're going to do this. No, but I want that. No, that is the one where you lie down and I rub and we hope you get better. This is the one where we're going to do it together, and you will get up and walk, and you will do this because you can. And that takes courage. That's exactly the same. It's about changing the paradigm in the treatment session. And that's when the game changes. And that's what everyone who's listening to you earlier will get, that because the energy and the enthusiasm is so contagious, because you just sound like you're having the time of your life in the midst of chaos. In the midst of pandemonium.
Yeah, well, this is it, Doug. I wake up in the morning. I'm like, great, time to go to work. It's going to be another day, and you know, it's we have fun, and there's nothing wrong with having fun. You know, I don't feel guilty that everyone I see is feeling miserable. What we try and do is make the fun infectious, so that people leave with a bit of a smile on their face, you know, and feeling better, obviously, you know.
And then maybe if then that ripple is the next person they meet, they get them to smile just a little bit too. So by the time they've got home, they've influenced 5 other people, which means that one bit of fun that you created, 5 people have benefited from.
Good, yeah.
You know, there's the bonus plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
something that keeps popping up. Where did you train with me the first time?
So it was in Poole.
It was Poole, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Which is also your surname.
It is. Funny enough, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was looking at that earlier when I emailed you, and I thought, that's weird. I'm sure it was Poole. I wonder if that's me having like a brain fart.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Not this time.
No, yes, yeah, it is my surname as well, Doug. Yeah. But yeah, that was
You had hip surgery.
6 weeks. I'd had 6 weeks prior to the activation course. I'd had my right hip replaced. Yeah.
And then we made you do stuff that you were like, are you sure I should be allowed to do this?
Absolutely. As I've told the tale many times before about how I came to be on the course. I'd seen clips of what you'd be activated on Physio UK. Never really kind of it sunk in. I'd watch bits and it'd be like you pulling someone's leg, and I'd be like, okay, and but I'd never really sort of engaged with it, shall we say. And it just so happened that Poole Hospital was where I did my first place as a junior physio when I first qualified. I hadn't been there in, must have been 17 years. And it was CPD time. And it was a choice of go to London and do some osteopathic techniques for physios, or go to Poole and be activated. And I was like, well, let's go. I'll give Poole a go. Even if it's a load of rubbish, I'll just tick a box, and I could see the old hospital, wander around, might even know somebody. And it was absolutely mind-blowing. I got back to work Monday morning thinking, oh my God, I can't wait to tell Sue about this. And Sue was like, how was your course the weekend? And I was like, we're gonna have a chat at lunchtime. She's like, what's this? Why? And so lunchtime comes and get in there, and I just did zone 1 on Sue. And she was like, what the hell is you've just done? What is this all about? And all of a sudden, she comes in the next day. She's been up all night watching all your YouTube videos. And I believe within 2 weeks, you were doing another level 1. Sue was booked onto it, and the rest is history. And life for us has never been the same again, Doug. And it was all talk about serendipity. It was, I never would have imagined that, because I came away feeling after that, I felt absolutely battered. I was bruised. I felt like I hadn't felt in a long time. I felt like I could take on the world. I felt bulletproof. And it was all of a sudden like, wow, after all the years of having arthritic hips and that, I felt like I hadn't felt that good in years. And it was, and then the following year, later that year, I had my second hip done. And then we did the level 2 in the following April. And, you were saying to me, okay, what would you like to get out of this? And I was like, it'd be amazing if I could run again. I haven't run in about 7 years. And you were saying, what's stopping you? I'm like, yeah, the hip's not right, Doug. My left one's a bit, it's been all right since the second operation, but not sure it's okay. And so he dragged me out in front of a load of people, got me to put my hand here, stuck your thumb in my armpit, so I felt like it was going to pierce my lung. And all of a sudden, my left hip felt amazing. And you had me going around outside in this, in the recreation ground, running. And it was more, like I say, a very sort of asthmatic fast hobble, but from then on, and funny enough now,
don't forget to tell them I was running behind you with a taser. So
it was a cattle prod, wasn't it?
Actually, I must remember that. I must do that.
But weirdly enough, now I run twice a week, and I can run 5 miles. It was just, like I say, for me personally, it's been an amazing revelation, and it's changed my body and things I can do that I hadn't been able to do. And it's like I say, Doug, it's been an amazing journey, really, and I look forward to seeing where it's going to go next.
I love this. Well, Steve, you know what? Your energy is so contagious. Your enthusiasm, and I think that anyone who is privileged enough to come into the practice and have sessions with you with this energy, there is no way you can't have impacted on them. I very much feel, sitting here tonight,
Oh,
I
thank you.
feel massively impacted by your energy, and I'm really
Good.
deeply in appreciation for this, because it's this is the, you know, like, where are the differences going to come? It's people like you, actually. And I don't want you to deflect and go, oh, and Sue and this. I'm talking straight to you, because
Yeah.
it for me, it's I feel that very strongly, and
Thanks, Doug. No,
I really yeah, I'm deeply moved by what you have to bring to this world. It's very exciting to stand with you on this.
No, it's like I say, it's been, you know, absolutely amazing, and you know, I'm looking forward to, like I say, see what comes next, and you know, it'd be nice to meet up for Guinness again at some point. And
absolutely, and more than one, I think, would be probably appropriate.
One or two, yeah, one or two.
One or two, you know, because excesses, we don't do.
Everything in moderation, including moderation, Doug.
There we go.